Well, Razorback fans, we know that Arkansas has some new faces at running back as well as some old faces, but for some reason, people just seem to overlook running backs these days in college football. Why is that? Let's talk about in today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Hope everybody is having a wonderful Friday as you have finally made it to the weekend, close to it at least. But getting excited about the things to come as we are just a few days, I should say, little over 3 weeks, I guess, at this point, away from Razorback football starting up. And we're going to talk about something that I thought what Nick Perry, the head coach or the cornerbacks coach for Arkansas, said about the Alabama 2010 game. Pretty funny stuff. I want to get into that as well as bring up a really cool moment and something about John CALIPARI that I always appreciate. But I wanted to bring up running backs because we've been kind of working through some of the position groups overall with this football season upcoming. And for the running back position, it's going down today. You know, that we're going to have a chance to hear from the running backs coach and everything. And it's almost like, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, so maybe it's just me spitballing. But it almost feels like the days of a running back and having a running back and needing a running back and needing a high-end running back is just not as important anymore, or at least not as common. Think back to, of course, Darren McFadden, the greatest, the GOAT of all Razorback football players, and the fact that he had Felix Jones and Peyton Hillis. I just felt like that was such a commonality of football, but particularly Razorback football, of having really good running backs. Because even before then, I thought Cedric Cobbs was a really high-end running back. Darius Howard, feel bad for him. Senior year is supposed to be his deal, but those freshman running backs and Darren McFadden and Felix Jones kind of overtook that. But you had guys like that. You had Fred Talley, who was really good. Madre Hill, Chris Chakuma. It just seemed like it was a pretty commonplace. And even after that, you had guys like Michael Smith rush for 1,000 yards. You had Nile Davis, who I think was one of the most talented running backs that Arkansas has ever had, but unfortunately just couldn't stay healthy. But he had a really good year. And then you had Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams, the two high-level running backs, and two of them that actually played for a good amount of time in the NFL. Raleigh Williams was really good, but unfortunately an injury really sidelined him. And then you kind of fast forward a little bit, and it just kind of started to go by the wayside. Running backs were not near as prevalent, at least high-end, as maybe they once were. And I'm just using Arkansas examples. I think there are other examples previously of other teams you could use too. But it's just not the same. I remember growing up, when I was really getting into football, I felt like I wanted to be a running back because quarterbacks, what do they know? They don't get any glory. It's about the running back position. But I guess that also shows you me the type of quarterbacks when I was a kid that I'd been able to have a chance to watch. Wasn't a whole lot. But I wanted to be a running back. And I remember looking at numbers and going through stats of some of these running backs. Like Darren McFadden is a great example of it. That would get 20, 30 carries in a game by themselves. And they'd even have other running backs spell them and help out a little bit. But nowadays, if I see a running back get 30 carries in a game, I think something happened. I feel like something went wrong. Did all of them get hurt? Could the quarterback not pass? Did his arm fall off? It's just changed so much. Now, a lot of you who are listening to me are probably yelling, saying, yes, idiot, because college football has changed, and the offenses have changed, and the approach has changed. So when that happens, positions are going to change. And you're right, for sure. But I feel like overwhelmingly a lot of college football fans, and this could be football fans in general, kind of just overlook the running back position and just always assume, it's by committee. It's just going to be a committee. Sure, there may be some running backs that are a little bit better than others. I think last year, for instance, for Arkansas, Jaquindon Jackson, no question, was the best running back on the team. And I truly feel like if he would have been able to stay healthy, he would have been an all SEC running back. He was really good. But you still had Braylon Russell. You still had other guys that you went to and had him help out with. I think back to 2021, and you had, 4 running backs with over 500 rushing yards. Dominic Johnson and A.J. Green, who ironically is still on the team. Rocket Sanders and even Traylon Smith. I'm sure you remember him too. It's just by committee nowadays. It would be weird to have a running back win a Heisman in the SEC at least. Alabama seemed to have a quality running backs, and now it just seems like they go more towards the quarterback, and it's a quarterback-driven league. So I get all that. But fast forwarding it and looking at it this season for the Razorbacks, it's the same thing. Sure, we want the running backs to be good. You want them to be great. But if I told you that the running back position this upcoming year is just going to be okay, just okay, does that change your viewpoint of this team? Does that change your viewpoint of how good this team's going to be? How many wins and losses they're going to have? I mean, it doesn't for me. But if I told you they were going to be a good crew of running backs, you'd probably be like, all right, it's fine. Maybe it would take for me saying, hey, Mike Washington or Braylon Russell, one of these guys, they're going to rush for over 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards even. Maybe then you'd be like, well, then I'd say that maybe the offense really got to clicking. But it just doesn't equate to that like it once did, like it used to. 1,000-yard rushers are great and all, but it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. What's the next thing? And for this year, I don't know if Arkansas will have a 1,000-yard rusher. They didn't last year. Still felt like, Jaquinta Jackson could have got to that point. Rocket Sanders definitely did. That dude crushed it. But this year, it's hard to predict. And if it happens, it'll be like one of those things of like, oh, yeah, that's kind of cool. Next. Ironically enough, when Rocket Sanders rushed for over 1,400 yards, was averaging 5.5 yards a carry, was really good. Arkansas went 6-6. Why? Especially when you had the numbers compared to with KJ and everything. It's just like, why? How does this happen? So I'm not trying to make a bigger deal out of anything. I'm not trying to downplay the importance of the running back position. I'm just saying that maybe we don't look at it as we once did. We don't put the value on it that we once did. All the value goes to the quarterback and the offensive line and the person calling the plays, the offense in general. But the running backs, it's like, oh, no, just plug and place. It'll be fine. Because nobody is looking at this roster of the running backs for Arkansas saying, oh, man, this is a great group of running backs. It could be. It might be. But there's nothing to point to that. So do we need to get back to maybe putting more value on it? What is the importance of the running back position going to be on this year's Razorback team? Well, it's going to have some sort of importance. It's an offense. You got to run the ball effectively. You got to throw the ball effectively. But I'm telling you right now, with this running back group that they have, and A.J. Green, for instance, being back, and Braylon Russell, and Mike Washington, I know he's gotten a lot of run there. I'm just expecting them to do their job. Hey, if it's 3rd down and 1, go get you a yard. Hey, if it's a goal line, go get it in the end zone. Hey, if a guy's coming off the corner and blitzing the quarterback and you're in protection, get your block. But am I looking at any of them and be like, man, you better start. This guy's not any good. He's only rushing for 4 yards per play. No, it's not going to be that way. But I'm going to take it one step further. And this is kind of where I bring all that up to come to this point. The Bobby Petrino offense is one that gets a lot of trends looked at and historical purposes looked at to try to equate to what it could become this upcoming year. And Bobby Petrino has had some teams that was really good at running the ball. But the best team that Arkansas ever had running the ball under Bobby Petrino, mind you, was the year in 2010 when you had Nile Davis do his thing. Now, granted, you had Dennis Johnson go out for the year. I think it was in the opening kickoff that he hurt himself and he was out for the season. Ronnie Wingo, Broderick Green, guys like that kind of help. But you had that one guy take over. And what happened in 2010? It's really good. Really good year. Now, I'm not saying that someone has to have a Nile Davis year where they rush for 1,400 yards. Be cool. But I am predicting that if Arkansas has one of these running backs, it doesn't matter who, one of these running backs have a 1,000-yard season where they're able to stay healthy enough and they're able to be effective enough to get to that 1,000-yard mark in a 12-game stretch. We'll make it even 1,100 yards. Let's make it fun. 1,100 yards. Arkansas is going to win 8 games. I firmly believe that. Because that 2022 season, when you had a great performance by Rocket and Arkansas went 6-6, it was because the defense was so historically bad in the passing game. Dead last. That's not how you win games. This defense this year is not going to be that. They're not going to be that bad. They're not going to be the one that and be the reason why you lose games. They're not going to be perfect. They're not going to be great, but they're not going to be the reason you lose games. The Razorback offense, though, I like Taylon Green. I like some of the receivers he has. I think the offensive line, the potential is there. And the running backs are just kind of, okay, yeah, but do we know? Well, if we find out that this has a 1,100-yard rusher in them, and then also could include Taylon Green being in the mix and some others, Arkansas, not only as an offense, but as a team, going to have a great year and going to win 8 games. Write it down. Getting you hyped up yet? I keep saying that at the end of every segment. Getting you hyped up yet? Hopefully so, because we're just a few weeks away from Razorback football. Speaking of 2010, I want to talk about this Alabama game. You guys remember it. Why am I bringing it up? Well, because the Razorback coach did. So let's talk about it. Coming up next on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I'm here to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about the baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned on the beach. I've been using FanDuel a lot, and I can tell you that you can check out all the matchups. The app is easy. They have daily promotions. They have all that good stuff, and especially with the NFL preseason going on, Major League Baseball still happening, it's all right here. So if you're new to FanDuel, got a great deal for you. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, so moving on to the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I'm a sucker for nostalgia, as you all know, sometimes to a fault, but I love revisiting things that meant a lot to me or that really stood out to me. And some of it is dumb, some of it is random, but some of it is pretty iconic. And I mean this, folks. I don't think there is a single play/game that gets referenced so much that resulted in a crushing loss more than the 2010 Arkansas-Alabama game in Fayetteville. It's incredible how much it gets brought up. And for good reason. I'll explain it here in just a second. But the reason I'm bringing this up is Nick Perry, the cornerbacks coach, the new cornerbacks coach for Arkansas. Well, guess what? He was on that 2010 Alabama team. That's right. He was on that 2010 Alabama team. He's had a lot of coaching prowess. And in fact, he was a grad assistant at Bama in 2017 before being an analyst, having an analyst role that was there. But listen, I'm not talking about his resume. I'm not talking about any of those things. I'm just saying that he was a true freshman there and he remembers that game. And he was asked about this game in the press conference that happened a couple of days ago. Hear the question from Tom Murphy, but as well as his response.
You mentioned the 2010 game. Some people say those first 2 plays on offense, Arkansas had a wheel route to Wingo and a Jarius Wright on crossing route, with Trino calling the plays. That might be the loudest the stadium's ever been, certainly ranked among that. What do you recall from the 2010 game?
Pig suey. Pig suey. I don't think I had pork for the next 2 months after that game. It was a wild atmosphere, and once again, coming in Arkansas, we're throwing the first punch, and they did that. And we knew going in, we always respected Arkansas, and knowing that they're going to play hard, it's going to be tough. This is a tough place to play at. And with the fans there, with the pig suey, it can get a little wild.
So just a cool little answer there. Good response by him. Just being, hey, pig suey, it's what he remembers. But I'm going to take it at his word that that's all stuff that he does remember. I love the fact that when I was there, I was in the student section, it was front row. We camped out all week. Like, it was one of the biggest games. I don't know if I remember a more anticipated game than that one in my Razorback football fandom. Truly. Because you just beaten Georgia, the Craig Childs Please play. You were undefeated. You had Ryan Mallett and all the players. You were number 10 in the country. You got to that top 10 ranking, and you were facing off against the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide, coming off of their national championship in 2009, where they returned Mark Ingram, the Heisman Trophy winner. They had Trent Richardson. They had Julio Jones. Greg McElroy was their quarterback. Marcel Darius was on the defensive line. Just another quintessential, amazing Alabama team, and they were number 1. They were number 1. Both undefeated. CBS, 2:30. Game day didn't come there, but we don't want to get into that. But I just remember pretty much after that Georgia game ended the week before, it hit me, man. It hit me. I'm like, this game could be it. This could be the arrival of Arkansas, the arrival of the Razorbacks, where if we win this game, we'll win the national championship. That's what I thought. Now, granted, that was still early enough in the year where Cam Newton and Auburn hadn't really become what they ended up being. So they were the best team and won the championship that year. But at the time, I didn't see anybody else on that schedule besides Bama. That's made me nervous or scared. And so I truly, and I feel like so many fans did as well, that was the game that you felt like you could arrive and you could put yourself in the driver's seat to go play for a national championship. At the worst, an SEC championship, which if you won that at the time, you were winning the national championship. The anticipation was something I don't think anybody can ever really describe. The build-up, the interviews, the attention being paid to it, knowing that what was on the line. And I remember just camping out and like just remembering the energy every day leading up to it. It would be like on a Tuesday, and it's like, let's not even do class today. Let's not even think about class. We got the Hogs and Bama coming in this weekend. And I remember the Saturday it happened. It was a little bit of an overcast, but for the most part, it was nicer weather, and everybody was just amped. It was just a feeling in Fayetteville, an energy that you couldn't really describe all week long. And then you finally get to the game, and everything's coming together. And it was before the expansion, so you had 72,000 some odd. I think it was actually, no, it was even more than that. It was like 76,000 because they put those temporary bleachers up for students in the top of the south end zone because there were going to be so many people there. You could not move, just shoulder to shoulder. And I truly felt like we were going to win. And I remember, of course, my obsession and love for Bobby Petrino. I remember knowing, hey, if Arkansas wins the toss, they're going to receive. They want the ball. That's the way Bobby does it. And Arkansas won the toss. Bobby got the ball. Ardregas Humphreys takes it out and everything. Now, I'm going to set the scene real quick for this. I'd been hearing up to that point and always talking with people and hearing from national people. They're like, hey, and also friends of mine that were on the Razorback football team. Because, everyone's like, hey, what do you guys think? And I remember, I wish I could remember actually exactly who it was. It was like a group of players I was in class with. But they were just like, yeah, we got something for him first drive. We got something for him. It's like, okay, cool. Now, can't wait. Well, then you had the big play to Jarius Wright, and then the wheel route to Ronnie Wingo, which was just mentioned there. And it was bedlam. It was that touchdown. That was probably the one time, that play, after that play, the one time I truly remember in my life where I'm like, we have the best college football team in the country, and it's not close. I know that may sound like an absurd statement, but that's how I felt after that play happened. I'm like, yep, Bring it on. We're the best. Of course, Arkansas lost. Still went to the Sugar Bowl. I say all that because it was still, to me, the greatest atmosphere in Razorback football history. Greatest atmosphere, not even close. To me, the loudest moment in Razorback Stadium, not even close. Has to be. I fainted. But I say all that because I want everybody to always remember you can be that again. That feeling leading up to a game, it can get to that point again. You can believe that at Arkansas you can win a championship in football, even if it's tough. You can have that feeling to where, hey, if you just win this one game, you'll be the best. It can happen again. Of course, you'd rather win the championship than feel like you could. But I want to feel that again. I want to feel that atmosphere. I want to feel that energy. I want to feel that confident and cocky. And the only way I'm going to feel it is if I can logically believe it. Right now, it's hard to do. But it doesn't mean it can't happen again. Don't lose that feeling. Don't lose that confidence. Don't lose that belief. It may take time, may take some major changes. But don't ever forget that you're the Arkansas freaking Razorbacks and you can be great once again. That's all I wanted to say. I will say there's another really cool picture that I want to show you and share with you on the other side of the break. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. You know, I'm a sucker for fun content, even if it's not any content that moves the needle for a lot of you. Even if it's social media nonsense and lameness and whatever. But I'm a sucker for it. I truly am. I love seeing good, wholesome, easy, simple, fun things, especially doing with the Razorbacks. And this was definitely one of them. This picture right here. I know some of you probably who are listening can't see it, but I'll describe it to you. It's a picture of Sam Pittman at practice, big smile on his face, looking on the field, alongside John Calipari, who for some reason is wearing a quarter zip when it's like 90 some odd degrees outside. But I mean, come on, dude. Like, look how cool John Calipari is. The essence of cool. Got the Ray-Bans on. The glare perfectly reflecting from his sunglasses, looking like he's in the movie Casino. Big old smile, laughing about stuff. The hair, he's got the phone in his hand. I'm sure he just got off the phone with another 5-star recruit. He's got the wedding band on. Just looking slick, man. And I saw this picture. The official Razorback football Twitter and everything shared it out and shouted it out and everything. And it just made me happy. That's really all it did. It just made me extremely happy. Because I see stuff like that, and I'm like, man, yeah. Like, say what you want about Pittman, but that's cool stuff. That's cool stuff. And and it's not even just a Calipari thing. Because I'll tell you guys this. I'm sure some of you remember this picture. I still believe one of the coolest pictures, moments, clips, however you want to put it, that didn't mean anything major, but meant something to me, was in 2021 when Arkansas beat Texas A&M down in Arlington. It was like the one time they beat them in over a decade. But a lot of you remember that game. Arkansas was 4-0 and everything. And after the game, you had Sam Pittman go over, and ERIC Musselman's there, and Dave Van Horn's there, and he gives them kind of like both of a hug. He's like, how about that? It was something. You got all three of them, the Trinity, just being there. Now, I know things have changed, and people's feelings have changed. But at that moment, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And shout out to Pittman for... I remember he said he called Muss saying, hey, man, I'd love for you to be down there. Muss like, I'm there, because you know how Muss is. And he said he called Dave, and Dave was like, well, I had practice, but I'll tell you what, we're going to cancel practice on Saturday. We'll do it Sunday, and I'll come down. And so he did. And just they were on the sidelines by themselves. They weren't like, oh, we're up in the box or in the suite. They were on the sidelines with the team. And that was just one of the really coolest moments. So anytime you see the big-time coaches or coaches of any sort, because you think about ego, you think about pay, you think about success or lack of success, anything like that. For them to get together and hang out is just cool. It's like seeing, Avengers get together. It's like, yeah, those superheroes are cool in their own way, but when they're all together, it makes it a little bit cooler. So I'm all for that stuff. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns we may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel next Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you then.